170th Avenue in Royal, Iowa in Clay County.
Okay. All right. And you have more than one parcel, or you've got one parcel?
One parcel.
All right. And have you been watching along and generally understanding how these proceedings go?
I believe so.
All right, very good. And did you cause to be prepared pre-filed testimony and question and answer form along with certain exhibits and attachments in this matter?
Yes, I did.
And if we were to walk through each and every one of those questions and answers, would the answers you would give here today, if I were to ask you those questions, be substantially similar to the ones you gave in your written testimony?
Yes, they would.
And do you have any material changes or updates to that testimony that are necessary to make?
Not at this time.
All right, very good. Your Honor, I would offer Exhibit 70 as well as Exhibits 395, 396, and 397.
Are there objections?
Provided that's the pre-filed testimony and the attachments there too, which I think is 1 through 25, there's no objection.
That's correct.
All right, seeing no objection, the board will admit and give the weight due.
Thank you. Ma'am, with that, I'm tendering you for cross-examination of the other folks here, okay? All right, thank you.
Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. I'm Wally Taylor. I represent the Sierra Club. When and how did you first learn that someone was proposing this pipeline across your property?
I received 7 certified letters that told me that they were proposing this and mentioned the possibility of eminent domain.
And did you go to the informational meeting that was held, about 2 years ago, probably?
I was not able to go to that informational meeting because I was taking care of my dad.
Okay. So did you meet with any land agents or representatives of Summit?
I believe there have been 5 that showed up at my door, but I wasn't interested in hearing from them. I'm concerned, and I was immediately concerned when I got the letter about the health and safety issues involved. I'm familiar with carbon dioxide as the second most common euthanasia method to employ during avian influenza, and I was also concerned about drinking water pollution caused by all of this activity.
Okay. Have you had personal experience with carbon dioxide as a euthanasia agent?
Well, I've not had it administered on me, but
of course.
During avian influenza, it's frequently used.
Okay. I guess my question wasn't a very good question. Do you have chickens or turkeys that?
No, I do not.
Okay. Can we bring up the KMC file, please? Does this appear to be your property, and the white line being what you understand Summit's pipeline route to be?
I'm going to trust you on that. I would need to pull out further to see some more, but yeah, I believe that looks correct.
Okay. Is that the route that you've always understood was the proposed route?
I usually threw away whatever Summit sent me, so I think it probably is. I think it's the last one I saw.
Okay. I take it you never talked to any Summit land agent or any Summit representatives about that route or possible alternative routes?
I did not, because I'm not willing to sell my health and safety or that of anybody else. In my pre-filed testimony, I did indicate that if it was straightened out, it might be better. My grandpa put in a lot of clay tile, and I do not have maps of it or know exactly where it goes.
Do you know why the route doesn't go straight across the bottom of your property instead of slanting up a little bit?
It is a mystery to me. If it would slant up even a little bit, it would put it further away from my house that I have there, which is down south. That's not on my parcel, but if you go across the road and down, that's my farmstead.
So, where the little hand is?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Do you know how far that is from the pipeline route?
I do not.
Okay.
I'd appreciate it if they did the arrow and moved that.
That's up to them, I guess.
Okay.
Is that a concern of yours that your house is that close?
Yes, that isn't my normal residence, but I am sometimes there, and I'm very concerned about being there.
Does anybody live there when you're not physically there?
No.
Okay. So, but how often are you there?
It would depend. Sometimes I'm on the farm. It'd be a few times a year, but it varies from, hours to days.
Okay. How close would the nearest emergency response personnel be?
The nearest emergency response personnel is a volunteer fire department in Royal, Iowa. That's probably about 6 or 7 miles, depending on how you take the track.
Okay. And then if you needed more than just a routine volunteer department, where would they come from?
I believe Spencer would probably be the closest that had some training in emergency response.
Okay, and how far is that?
About 15 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Ryan?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to follow up on a few things from your testimony. You mentioned your family purchased the land 91 years ago.
That's correct.
How long have you owned it?
I've owned it about 30.
Okay. So which generation are you then?
Well, I'm technically the 3rd generation.
Okay. And do you have plans to pass it on?
I would hope to do so, but I don't know if that'll be possible.
You also mentioned that the soil on your farm is called royal gold. Why? Where does that come from?
That was just sort of local lore, and I think that might have been what attracted my grandfather to it. It's always been a high-quality soil. The section that's threatened has a CSR of 96 and has some of the best corn on the farm.
And so you said it's an important source of income, so it sounds like that soil probably contributes quite a lot.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And do you have specific concerns about the pipeline with respect to the soil?
Objection, Your Honor.
State the objection.
The 11th question in these sets of testimony is, as you analyze the route, please describe the features and characteristics of your property which make construction of a pipeline a problem. It's asked and answered. It's duplicative. Under the guise of friendly cross, it's just further direct examination on the same point.
Ms. Ryan?
Could counsel direct us to the page and line of that question so I can verify?
Sure. Page 4. And line 6, it begins.
Well, I would say that this question isn't asked and answered because I'm asking specifically about the soil type, which is not addressed in either that question or that answer.
And certainly could have been. This is the direct testimony of this witness.
I did not help this witness prepare her direct testimony. I had no control or input into what was written in that testimony. I'm asking additional questions.
Ms. Ryan, we'll overrule that objection. However, please contain your questions to clarifications. But thank you. Go ahead.
And that's what's my clarification with respect to that specific soil type.
Go ahead.
Are there any unique concerns?
Go ahead. Re-ask your question.
Can I answer?
Yes.
Okay. I'm concerned about a number of things related to that soil type, particularly when it's excavated. It's just not the issue of keeping the topsoil up and having it there. It's that excavation can lead to soil conservation problems, which can lead to phosphorus leaking into the drinking water. Just as the fertilizer application is certainly a problem with nitrogen when we're looking at most of the state being in drought, and also we're seeing that Summit may pull a considerable amount of water out of the system and further lower the water tables, causing a concentration of the normal amount of nitrogen that's in there to be potentially dangerous, downstream.
And then you also mentioned that you've spent a lot of time, researching and putting into this case. Has your involvement in this case cost you any money?
I spent the night at the hotel last night that I normally would have not done. I think I'm much more concerned about the cost to the farm, if that land will have to be taken out of production and put in CRP. I'm concerned that everyone a lot of people in Iowa may have their water bills increased because there'll have to be more purification and nitrification of water systems.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Ms. Coles.
Good morning, Ms. Thompson. Jean Colas, Colas Family Farms. You didn't mention what county is your farm in?
It's in Clay County.
Is Clay County currently having issues with water conservation, or is there a lot of concern?
I grew up when the well used to run dry. So I think everywhere in Iowa should be concerned about the drought and what's going on. At times when, water has to be rationed, will that affect consumers? Will it affect animals? Will it be diverted to industry? I think it's always a concern for me.
Do you have any confidence in Summit, since they have no experience with the CO2 pipeline, being in charge of this building?
I have concerns.
Such as?
Well, I'm concerned that the topsoil won't be properly separated and put back. I'm concerned about the impacts when they're crossing streams and rivers and what will happen. I have a lot of overall concern about what will happen with soil erosion.
Do you think they have the experience to operate it safely?
I have not seen evidence of that. To the best of my knowledge, they don't have experience.
Has this, you mentioned you were taking care of your father. Has this had any emotional or physical risk or damage to your health or well-being?
I don't think to mine. It was pretty tough on my dad.
Do you feel what little contact you had with Summit Do you feel that they brought forth any of the risks or hazards in the pipeline?
I was given no information on where a leak might disperse, no information related to anything like that or any safety risks.
Does this concern you about the ability of your emergency response team being able to put the procedures they need into place for the safety?
I think the reality is they just can't, and without that type of information and without knowledge about all the effects, I don't think that any of the easements actually signed could be considered voluntary.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
Ms. Hayek?
Hello, Ms. Thompson. I'm Chris Hike. I'm a landowner. Just a question about, you mentioned that you'd received 7 certified letters and you had not attended the informational meeting, but you'd also had 5 agents that were at your door and you were not interested in visiting with them. Did they talk with you at all then?
I don't believe they really had the opportunity. I, of course, tried to be very polite, but, you know, I had other things going on, and so I thanked them and sent them on their way.
Okay. I didn't know if, so the first that you were aware of the eminent domain with your Exhibit H is what you received in the mail recently then?
Well, I'm familiar with the concept of eminent domain. It's really the theft of private property legalized by a finding of a public use or necessity, but I don't believe that making rich political donors richer should qualify.
Thank you.
Okay, with no, Ms. Ryan, your mic is on. Just heads up. With no other questions, Mr. Jorde I'm sorry, you just told me. Board Member Burns.
If we can go back to KMZ map quickly, please. I just want to clarify a few things I want to clear on. Partly because my computer is giving me problems this morning. So, as I look at the KMZ map here, which parcel is the one that you reside at once in a while, you said?
Well, if you'd go diagonal from the one in red, it's right there. Yep.
Okay, so just for the record purposes, directly south and to the east.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. And then I'm just curious, what is this structure where the hand is? Do you know what that is by chance?
I do not know. Oh, that might not be mine.
Well, I couldn't tell if it was a grouping of trees or if it's a stockpile of manure. But I couldn't tell. And I didn't know if you knew since you resided in that neighborhood sometimes.
I'm sure I should know, and I
That's
don't.
fine. And then, as far as the field tile goes, you said you did or did not know where that was located on that parcel?
I do not know.
Okay. Do you know if there's...
There is field tile, but I mean, there's a lot of tile there, but I don't know exactly where it is.
Okay. And do you know on that parcel, is there any place where you can see it exiting, or is there a county drainage district nearby or anything, or one direction or the other of that parcel, or don't know?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. With that, Mr. Jorde for redirect.
Yes, thank you. Ma'am, you mentioned concerns about the soil, the land. Is it true that you formerly worked at the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship?
Yes, I worked there for 12 years.
All right, very good. And so not only from your personal perspective, but your perspective is also informed by that experience.
Yes. At the time I worked there, the Des Moines Water Works lawsuit had been filed, and we had a lot of meetings about that and water quality.
And you were asked some question about the time spent on this. Is it true? Coming here last week, we had you scheduled to testify, and you got into a car accident and totaled your vehicle?
Yes, it's expected to be totaled. I'd also been up here one time before.
Okay, very good. And we appreciate you being here today. When you talked about the effect on your dad, you got a bit emotional there. Do you believe that the effect on people and the stress and the pressure they're under due to this project is something that should be considered in the balancing factors of what is publicly convenient and or necessary?
Well, I think when you're dealing with family farms and land that's, been in the family, it's not just a piece of dirt in some county. I had tried to avoid telling my dad, and he read about it in the newspaper and asked. I can't quantify an exact toll that it took on him during chemotherapy, but it wasn't good. And I probably people should be compensated, and I wouldn't know exactly how to do that.
And so during this time, your father's also undergoing cancer treatments. Is that correct? Is that a yes?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry.
And you've tried to protect him from this best you can?
Yes, I thought I was doing a good job, and then it was in the newspaper.
All right. I don't have anything further, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson.